planned stage weekly meeting, 26th of October 2022. It's the Halloween one, I suppose. Over to you, Martin.
All right. So it's me randomly because I remembered to put it. Please welcome Danica. She is going to be the new UX or senior UX researcher for Plan. Danica, would you like to say hi?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm Danica. I'm excited to be here. I know I haven't reached out to all of you yet, but I'm hoping to set up some coffee chats and get to know everybody. But very excited. I was working as a UX researcher at Acquia prior to this, doing some web hosting and marketing automation tool work. So excited to switch over to GitLab. And yeah, I'm open to any questions. I can share a little bit more about me if we want, but yeah, you can find me on Slack. Come around. I'm in Boston, so Eastern Standard Time typically works for me. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I should add, but I'll leave it there.
You started on Monday and you haven't coffee chatted every single one of us yet?
I know, I'm a little behind. I can only drink so much coffee.
I don't know about that, actually.
All right, great. Thanks, Danica. So John's is read only. And then it's me again. So I said it's an FYI, but I can vocalize it. So someone shared with the technical writers that we as the company, or it's a specific group, I guess, is working on Open API v2, which so this epic has specific issues or sub epics for different groups or stages, and Plan, or at least, or specifically project management, is there with like 18 issues. So just wanted to share it in case you haven't been aware. There is some kind of November deadline, so I don't know, like, how are we approaching it? From my end, for API descriptions, the tech writers are not pressed to be creative with the descriptions. So if you don't do it in a merge request, I would probably be suggesting just using the same descriptions that we have in the REST API.
Yeah, you're right. There were 18 issues for project management. I moved forward them into product planning, but that still leaves quite a lot of work for project management. So there are two things I think we can do. One of them is if it's truly like a 1 to 2 hour job per issue, then like let's put a weight of 1 on them and put the good for new contributors label on, and see if we can rally some community input, because they're kind of good issues for somebody who wants to contribute for the first time. And then second of all, like if we could move some of them around the different groups. Optimize already has 4, I think, as well. Brandon, is that right? I think it's 4. Anyway, like 4 is probably enough for anybody. So maybe that just leaves Certify, so we could look if Certify could take a few as well. And seeking community contributions as well. You're right, Martin, we should have that. Cool. If there are no other comments on that, Heinrich, you have a demo for us, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I thought it was a really exciting demo because, but yeah, John mentioned it might be worth sharing so that you know what we're working on next. So let me just share. So right now it's backend only, and this allows us to add this parameter or an argument similar to what we do with not. And currently it supports assignee usernames or author usernames. And yeah, it returns you the issues that are assigned to this user or this user. It's a highly requested feature, and we started work on this before, but got stalled by the Vue issue list refactor. And now that Vue is now in our issue list is now in Vue, we can work on the front end component to add this type of filtering. I think Kong is working on it. So yeah, and yeah, just for the info of everyone. So how the OR works is it's a per field type of OR, or it's basically a union where if I say assignee usernames is this and this, and if I do another one like author usernames is another set of users, it's basically only an OR within the field. So it's still an AND. So it's assignee username, user one, user two, and author username is user one or user two, something like that. So we still can't do complex queries like author is Marcin or assignee is John. Like I don't know if somebody ever needs that kind of like query, but yeah. Yeah. Any questions or?
I think it's really cool. I actually ran into a use case where I really wanted to use all, but it wasn't available. It wasn't on issues though. So I'm just curious, how much work was it to get all working in GraphQL for issues? Or for specific fields? 'Cause I know you mentioned it's per field. I'm assuming you have to do work per field to have it enabled.
Right. So yeah, so the MR I have right now that I linked in the agenda is just for adding the argument to the GraphQL, because the finder work for assignee and authors I already did like, I don't know how many months ago. But basically the work, it is a bit easier than the not, or yeah, because active record relations basically already support an OR by, if you pass an array to the where, it's like it generates an in where column in this this array that you give, right? So it's very similar to an AND. You just pass in an array instead of the single value. And for yeah, just let me show you an example for labels that I added. Labels, I will share. I don't know if it's readable or too small.
Yeah, that's readable. Thanks.
Yeah, so basically what I did here is that for an AND, for labels, we already support passing in multiple label names, right? For an AND, if you supply a list of labels, then we basically do an AND. And for the logic for AND, it's here. What we do is for every label name, we iterate over them and call it the relation dot where label name is this. And for another label name, we do another where so that active record doesn't end, right? So for the OR, it's actually simpler because it's just a single where and you pass in the array into the relation, and then active record does the in thing. So yeah, it's simpler in a way. But one thing I'm also doing with this OR query feature is that I'm refactoring our issue filter, issue finder or issuable finder, and splitting out features vertically. So for a bit of background, our issuable finder is like a very long file because it has all types of filters, right? Author, assignee, that. And historically, we've split it by function more like horizontally. So we have this params class that handles finding of assignees, finding of authors, finding everything, basically turning these params like names or into IDs. And then there's the part where we do the actual filtering and all that. So it's grouped by function, right? And so every file is very long because the param handling, it's still handling all the filters, right? So it's still very long. So the actual filtering is still very long because it has all this params that we support. So right now I'm trying to split this out into separate classes per function. So this is the label filter class, and it has the actual filtering here. It has the code for querying, where was it? Querying the actual labels from the names that you provide and turn them into IDs so that we could pass to the query and stuff like that. So yeah, this is like a back-end version of the split horizontally versus vertically thing that we're trying to do with features. So, and this is also kind of what I'm trying to do with widgets update service, because it's the same thing is happening with our update service. Our issue update service is very huge and very long because it's also split into methods like filter params does the param filtering and permission checks. Then there's the actual updates, and then there's the function for creating the system nodes after the updates. So it's still split like horizontally per function, and it's easier to understand, and it's just the code is easier to follow. So we split it vertically into like, this is the assignee update handling code where first it filters the parents by permission, it does the actual update and does the system node for assignees in this one file, and then this other file does the same thing for the other feature. And I think it also improves security in a way, because when the code is easier to follow, and then less chance for bugs and all that. Because yeah, we've had some instances where things happen just because it's just so hard to follow. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's really insightful. Thanks. Just another question regarding that. So in the GraphQL Explorer, is there anything that kind of indicates that OR is supported by that query?
Yeah, so the GraphQL Explorer basically autocompletes based on the schema that we have, right? So if you type in OR, it should autocomplete there, and just like the not.
Okay, cool.
I think the challenge here is in the front end, in the UX. I don't know how we display, or I don't know how, if Nick or Kong had a discussion on how we want to display this in the filter bar, right? If you click label, is there another or like, because we discussed this before, where right now we have when you click on a filter like label, there's is and is not, right? And one option is to add another option like an or, right? The other option was to make the is a bit different, like where you press is and then you get a multi-select. So if you select multiple ones, that's basically an or, is A or B. And if you wanted an and, you'd have to is, then A, then enter, then open another label filter, is B, to do the and. But might be not so intuitive, but I don't know. Those are the concerns. But
some of that exists, right? Like I've seen design for this before whenever this kicked up like a year ago. And there is like a filter bar multi-select component that already exists. So I think a lot of those pieces are there. I don't know how close they are to being usable, but yeah, I'll keep an eye on and see what questions are still open there.
yeah, I think also this wasn't really in a super, I guess, refined state where we, had everything and we decide to move forward or something. But I spoke with Donald about this, and kind of like, we already have the most of the backend working. It's just adding a param to GraphQL. Why don't we just move this forward, because it has been stalled for a while, and we also got like pings from users, and I think even internally in Slack, I saw some like requests around like do we have or something in our channel recently. So
yeah, it's a huge sus issue that comes back almost on every sus survey as well. I think Henrik, we did alter the front end and the user experience for it based on your input, where we should like doing the is one of approach. And I think Nick linked in the component that's been done for that we pushed upstream to pajamas. I think it makes sense and is a good iteration in next MVC in terms of getting something out there that works. But I don't know, Nick, if you have strong opinions. Otherwise, this work was all done before you started, so I would want your stamp of approval and input on it. So.
No, that I was tracking that down this morning, and I think the existing components that we have and the is one of approach is pretty much what I had put in the like saved views and queries, because I'd thrown like an or filter in there, and it was basically the same. So I'm happy to see that.
oh, interesting. I didn't know we already had this in pajamas, and so yeah, it's a good thing it's already there, and we just need to like implement it in our application. I guess one point of confusion I realized also is that if you do an or filter with just one username or one user or one value, it's basically just like an and, right? I mean, or if you chose and, I mean, one of this user, but I guess it's fine.
Cool. I think Jan, yours is read only unless anyone wants to weigh in on it. Also, awesome demo, Heinrich. Thanks. Like I could go into a load of stuff about GitLab triage as well, like that runs the triage ops project, and some of the queries there are hilarious for the number of knots that they include to get around the fact that we don't have or. But I know we'd need to build it into the REST API as well for that. But like, yeah, like one day. Anyway, yeah. So Jan, did you want to go through this or just leave it as read only?
No, it's basically just read only to make sure it's transparent and to get enough attention to the discussion.
Cool. Okay. Short meeting today, unless anyone has any other topics. No. Okay. Cool. I will stop the recording.